Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and it's wonderful to have you along for the ride, especially on the heels of a great Phillies win last night. In Game 1, they allowed the Mariners to come back, at least to pull it to within 3, and then they just stomped out all their hopes and dreams. In this one, Phillies were up 3 runs in that 7th inning, and we're going to get into the takes on that 7th inning surrounding Rob Thompson, Christopher Sanchez, and Orion Kerkering, especially when it comes to Orion Kerkering inheriting runners on base, inheriting runners. Even though no one was in scoring position. When Orion Kerkering comes into a game and there's a runner on base, I just go, that guy's going to score. But he's been great, not so much inheriting runners. What else we're going to get into in this game is how JT Realmuto just demolished that moonshot of a home run, 431 feet, for the 2-run blast after Bryce Harper's leadoff single. 2-run home run. Phillies go up 6-4. Joan Duran closes out in the 9th. Absolutely electric. Electric at Citizens Bank Park last night. They win the series with the Mariners. They go for the sweep today, hopefully weather permitting. Supposed to have some rain around first pitch. At least that's what the nice Cecily Tynan lady was saying on the Action News. We'll get into that. And we'll also get into Christopher Sanchez complete and utter dominance. Through the 6th and 3rd innings, he allowed 1 run. And then just like Ranger Suarez, the bullpen comes in and tacks on another run. Now, I am in no way, shape, or form putting Orion Kerkering in the same stratosphere as Jordan Romano, but I'm saying the bullpen tacked on another run to a starting pitcher after a great start by that starting pitcher. That same thing happened last night. Kevin Patullo addressed the media yesterday at Eagles training camp. I don't know. I really need someone to help me with this because I'm just struggling, man. I don't get it. You lost some plays in the joint practice to Jim Schwartz. What was that like, and why did you lose those? Why did you lose in practice to Jim Schwartz? If we don't take preseason games all that serious, when it comes to a player's performance, why are we taking practices all that serious? Like, if I tell you Tanner McKee is, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, which I'm not. First thing is, well, because of preseason? Because he did well in the preseason? He did well once started the NFL? Because of preseason? Well, that is kind of where you win your job, by the way. But that's the first thing people would say. Because of preseason? So, because of practice? Yes, every ounce of Allen Iverson applies to this one. Talking about practice? You're talking about winning and losing in practice? Good God. And the other thing is that I can't even blame, and not that I do, because we do the same thing really in this regard. I don't blame reporters for asking the question when Nick Sirianni said early this week, well, we lost some plays there in practice to the Browns. This really? We're that concerned about it. But anyway, Kevin Patullo, he's going to be a great head coach one day, I can already tell. Or at least a head coach one day. I can tell with Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen, I said this before, he speaks like he's a head coach. Even when it was the offensive coordinator, he speaks like a head coach. Some people might not like to hear this, but Jonathan Gannon, he talked like a head coach. He was going to be a head, we knew that. Kevin Patullo is on his way, man. He is absolutely on his way. He's like, oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. Here's me telling you nothing about the question you just asked and all the players I'm going to mention that you just asked me about. I'm going to mention those players, and they're working really hard. Next question. Gave you really nothing. Hey, Jim Schwartz, we got him on some plays, and then he came back and got us on some plays. So we got to make sure that we get them on more plays than they get us. Okay, thank you. Hey, John Metchie just joined the wide receiving room. What do you know about John Metchie? Know a lot. He's just a very talented player. Really works hard. He's on point. He's really making the competition good in that room and all that. And everyone's got to realize that the competition is higher. So what does it mean for like Johnny Wilson and Anais Smith and Darius Cooper? What does it mean for those guys? Well, you got a week left to practice to prove what you got, And, it's all about competition, and the competition in the room makes the competition better. Okay. And look, I'm not expecting him to go, oh, good question. Here's our playbook. And this is what we do. Like, I'm not expecting that. I still don't know what Metchie's doing here. To me, yeah, he's making the competition better in the room for their wide receivers, sure. But I didn't look at the Eagles wide receiving room and go, oh, man, they need help. Oh, they need depth. No, I feel like they got that. I mean, you got A.J. Brown as your number one target. You got Devontae Smith as your number two target. Those are really good targets right there. Oh, wait. And then your third wide receiver, allegedly, Jahan Dotson is another first round. Oh, okay. And also a guy that you acquired almost exactly around, the same 3-4 days. I think it was August 23rd you acquired him last year, August 22nd. And then you got Metchie, obviously, a couple days ago here. So they felt the need to add to the room again. All right. He's not a returner. So if you're looking at him to really play special teams, he's not going to be playing much of special teams for you. Anaya Smith is a guy that I'd like to see go out there and take the punt and kick return responsibilities away from Cooper DeJean. If we're asking Cooper DeJean to be the outside corner, the nickel, and apparently the safety at times, well, then I'd like to take away that one responsibility, especially because he's that much more valuable to your defense, meaning that you're going to be upping his snap count even more, which is great. I'd like somebody to be able to go back there and return the football that's not named Cooper DeJean. So I don't know. Is this something that we're supposed to be concerned about when it comes to A.J. Brown's hamstring? I don't know. But Nia Smith is going to be there for special teams. Johnny Wilson, I mean, look, if the Eagles cut Johnny Wilson, the only thing I'm going to be upset about is, that size. They don't use the size. Jalen Hurts has raved about Johnny Wilson learning to use his size a little bit more on the football field, which is great. But if the only thing I'm going to be missing about him is his size, and Metchie can go out there and run that better route and get on the fly route, it's not like a blinding quick receiver either. I mean, quick maybe, but speed-wise, not all that great. So I don't know. To me, it felt like a move that just he wanted to make a move. That's what it felt like more than anything. And I certainly hope it doesn't hit at the idea of anybody having a lingering injury like A.J. Brown, for instance. Yes, does it make the room more competitive? Certainly. But one of the other things I really am enjoying in terms of just daydreaming about this season, and this guy just everyone just keeps on saying great things about him, and it's exactly what you want to hear about a first-round pick, and that's Jihad Campbell. I mentioned yesterday Zach Baughan talking about how Jihad Campbell is the type of guy that is working just as hard in the film room, working just as hard in the weight room as he is on the field. To see him get one of them sexy numbers in the preseason game there by getting a sack and getting into the backfield on a called blitz, by the way, just gets more attention on the guy. But it's really everything that's going on off the field that goes into his production on the field. And I keep thinking about Zach Baughan and him playing next to each other this season. I think about Nolan Smith going out there and making great things happen. I think about Jalix Hunt going out there and making great things happen. But it's all anchored by Zach Baughan. And we talk about this a lot when it comes to Jalen Carter. How if you're a defensive back on this team or you're an edge rusher on this team, having Jalen Carter in the middle of your defensive line really helps everything. Because the quarterback is, tick, 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 tick. When's Jalen Carter going to be here? He's coming. And then you also got to worry about him with double teams. Jordan Davis taking a step up this year. Him and Cam Jurgens apparently getting into it at practice yesterday. Oh, boy. Or excuse me, 2 days ago. The temper's flaring a little bit. Last couple days at camp. Ooh, baby. But when you have Jalen Carter, we talk about this a lot with him, how much that helps everybody around him. Well, if you're a linebacker and you're going to be playing next to Zach Baughan, whether that's the Kobe Dean whenever he's healthy, whether it is Jihad Campbell, that helps raise your game as well, because it's not like you're going to be dropping back in coverage as much. He's been great in coverage. Zach Baughan's been great in coverage, showing off that athleticism. That's one of the major things that really jumped out to me last year, was that Zach Baughan would be at the line of scrimmage within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage on a play action, and the next thing you know, he's breaking up the play 15 yards downfield. Now Jihad Campbell plays next to that. And I absolutely think he is going to get those starter reps next to Zach Bond. And then I also think he's going to get an opportunity there to be an edge rusher as well. And that is a dangerous mix. If you have Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Jihad Campbell, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Ruche coming off the edge for you at times. When I say at times, I mean Jihad Campbell. with Zach Bond either back in coverage or just holding the fort down in the middle of the field, that sounds like a nice mix. Oh, and then Quayon Mitchell locking down a number one. Cooper DeJean in the slot because they are a nickel more than anything. The base stuff is just bonkers. How much look, as it should be, getting a lot of attention when you talk about Cooper DeJean going to the outside. But this defense, I keep on going back to the same word. And that is reloaded. And that was from the Fox Sports story over the offseason about what this Eagles team had done this year. Not retool, not rebuild, reload. The same weapon, just a different clip. Put it in a different magazine, and it's going to be firing again. Also, if you're going to get the warm and fuzzies from the preseason, Drew Makuba certainly helped his cause in that regard in his most recent preseason game. It looks like Makuba is the front runner right now for the starting safety spot opposite Reed Blankenship. I don't know. Maybe I have to start really accepting the idea that the Eagles are not going to sign Justin Simmons. That this is the safety core going into it, going into the season. So here we are. So we're going to get into all that and more. Also, I went back and I watched Rich Eisen on SportsCenter. Now, if you're like me, you had a lot of Carl Ravitch and Craig Kilborn on SportsCenter growing up. You certainly had a lot of Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann just crushing Monday morning SportsCenter. I still remember just sitting there eating my Cookie Crisp. What is this, a bowl of cookies with milk? Okay, that's a good hearty breakfast. And just listen. I still hear like things like that. Like I tell you guys all the time about. I still think to myself, how would Harry call it when it comes to the Phillies? How would Harry call it? If it was JT Realmuto's home run last night, how would Harry? All these home runs by Kyle Schwarber, what would it sound like with Harry? It's just one of those voices in my childhood that'll never leave. On a much lesser scale, but still a scale, I can still hear like Dan Patrick on swing and miss strikeouts, the whiff, something like that. But Rich Eisen and Stuart Scott was such a fun combo. And I can remember having a conversation years ago with Dan Patrick. And I got to meet Dan a couple of times. I don't want to say I got to know him. It's not like we're buds. But I got to speak to Dan Patrick a number of times. He's an awesome guy. And one time we got to talking about this meeting that he had with the ESPN executives when him and Keith Olbermann were really taking off and becoming like stars, right? And the ESPN executives were like, hey, you guys are having way too much fun. Listen, this is ESPN saying to Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. They called him in for a meeting. One of the meeting was with the bosses. And Dan Patrick goes, oh, okay, yeah, we're having too much fun. Okay, we'll back it off. We'll you guys need to take more of a serious approach to what you're doing. This isn't a playground, that kind of thing. So Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann leave the meeting, and Dan Patrick looks at Keith Olbermann and he goes, man, well, that sucked. I thought we were doing an awesome job. And Keith Olbermann goes, man, F them. He goes, to hell with what they think. And we're going to keep doing whatever it is the hell we want. And Dan's like, oh okay. And then he goes, and then he says, and Dan Patrick said this to me. He goes, and look what they're doing now. And this was with Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen. It was the next level. It was the evolution. And it was like Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen started to do it. I guess the ESPN execs went, maybe that Olbermann guy and that DP guy, maybe they were right. Maybe they do need to have some fun. After all, It is sports, for crying out loud. And then Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann obviously set this great bar, and then Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen took it to the next level. And of course, with Stuart Scott passing and the relationship that was there with him and Rich Eisen, I remember when Stuart Scott passed, Rich Eisen did all the NFL highlights that night on the NFL Network with catchphrases that were Stuart Scott's and all that stuff. And watching Rich Eisen back on SportsCenter, it was wild. It was a throwback to the childhood type thing. And first, I just think he did a phenomenal job. And I think everyone wanted Stuart Scott to be a part of it. And we're waiting to see if we're thinking whether or not they would see some kind of tribute. And oh man, I watched that with Rich Eisen. That was emotional. He did a phenomenal job. I mean, ESPN. I mean, I know a lot of people give ESPN a lot of guff these days, and it's not the problem. I mean, the Dan Patrick days, the Keith Olbermann days, the Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen days were great. Craig Kilborn trying to get there as well, and for me, he succeeded. But I thought Rich Eisen really did a great job of bringing everything full circle, and then to also hear him call the 2 Bryce Harper home runs on a highlight was kind of cool as well. So I know ESPN gets a lot of grief for not being the product it used to be. Now it's a lot more talk than it is highlights. Like, I want to see what other teams are doing and all that stuff. Now it's a lot more talk. But man, it really did bring it back to what I would consider to be the glory days of ESPN. One thing I will say about Craig Kilborn, I know I've told this story before, but one of the first times I remember seeing Craig Kilborn, and I mentioned Craig Kilborn trying to bring it to like a funnier level. And I'll never forget this one inbounds play. Maybe you guys remember, it was a high school basketball game, and they run a stack on an inbounds play, last second shot, trying to win the game. And one of the kids breaks from the stack, goes in the corner, gets on all fours, and goes, "Roo, roo, 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 roo." And the whole team, the opposing team, looks at the kid like, what the hell? Meanwhile, the other kid breaks to the basket, easy layup, they win the game. Great play. Carl Ravitch is calling the play on the SportsCenter highlight, and Craig Kilborn, right before they, send it to commercial, where, it was the last highlight of the show. Usually, every once in a while, you'll hear in your ear, the producer will go 15 seconds, and they got 15 seconds to kill. So maybe Craig Kilborn probably thought, maybe this is what happened. Maybe they got the 15 seconds, and they're like, okay, I got 15 seconds to kill here. Let me tell a story or a joke. So you hear Carl Ravitch go, "Oh man, that was creative." And then Craig Kilborn comes in with this kind of the Craig Kilborn voice, right? And he goes, I had to play like that in high school as well. We called it the mouse play. I'd sit on the bench and not make a sound. And Carl Ravitch shot Craig Kilborn a look like, what? It was like, I don't know, it was like a Norm Macdonald moment almost from Craig Kilborn. I know that's high praise for Craig Kilborn, but I just remember thinking, is this guy trying to be funny on ESPN, on SportsCenter? This is not a house of jokes. Give me my highlights. And then guys were actually funny, like DP and Craig Kilborn and then Stuart Scott and obviously Rich Eisen. So yeah, brought everything back full circle, having Rich Eisen back on ESPN. I'm here for it. April, please don't encourage my Craig Kilborn impression. I don't think I got his voice, but I think I have his cadence. I think I got the cadence. Cadence before voice is usually how it goes. Not that I'm staring in the mirror working on impressions all the live long day. Hey, anyway. Oh, look at this. I haven't finished mine. Every time. Mini vacation. Every sip. Your Philadelphia Phillies took on the Seattle Mariners last night. They came away with a 6-4 victory. Let's break it down in yesterday's game. First off, number one, Christopher Sanchez. Okay? Christopher Sanchez was dominant. 12 strikeouts yesterday. 7 of the strikeouts by way of the changeup, by the way. And I also was mentioning Ranger Suarez yesterday with his 10 strikeouts. The vast majority of them, the worst count he saw was a 2-2 count. He had one of his 10 strikeouts come on a 3-2 pitch. That was when he got Suarez on a curveball. But everything else was 0-2 or 1-2 or 2-2. Like, he was just getting ahead of guys left and right. Yesterday, Christopher Sanchez got ahead of hitters. I believe it was 24 out of 26 times he got ahead. He got strike one. Strike one. First pitch strikes to 25 of 26 hitters, I believe it was in last night's game. 12 strikeouts, like I said. 2 of those strikeouts came on full counts. Everything else was 0-2, 1-2, or 2-2. Again, just getting ahead of hitters. 2 of the strikeouts came by way of the slider. 3 came by way of the sinker, including his last one, which is a little controversial on J.P. Crawford. And then 7 of them came on the devastating changeup. Got Cal Raleigh in his book last night. Got Crawford on the book last night. Polanco, Garver, Naylor, he got 3 times last night. I mean, he was just slinging it, pulling the string last night. He was masterful. There were a couple of instances there, like the second inning, he gives up a leadoff single to Suarez. Then he strikes out the side. Naylor, Garver, Polanco go down, slider, changeup. Then in the third inning, when he allowed the only run he would allow while he was in the game, gives up the leadoff double to Crawford. Then he strikes out more on a 2-2 changeup. Unfortunately, a Rosarena comes up. He puts one down the left field line for an RBI double. It was a misplay by Marsh. You would have had somebody play. By the way, while I'm on Brandon Marsh on that one, I've been talking about Bader and him, same defensive skills. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go with Bader. I recant my previous statements. Bader's been great. I still think Marsh is not bad by any means. I still think he's very good. But Bader just seems to get to everything. And what really impressed me last night about Harrison Bader, there were 2 balls hit off Monty's angle. And like a geometry professor, Harrison Bader figured out the perfect angle and trajectory of where the ball was going to bounce, and he was right there. Meanwhile, it's a flat wall in left field, and Brandon Marsh is like, I don't know where this was going. And it bounced over his head. If he fields it cleanly, J.P. Crawford does not score on that play, and then maybe Christopher Sanchez doesn't go on to allow a run in that inning. Because after the Rosarena double, Crawford would only get to third. Rosarena would probably still make it to second base. He would have second and third with 1 out. Raleigh comes up. He works a walk. Then you have the bases loaded. Then he strikes out Rodriguez, and then he gets Suarez to strike out, or excuse me, to ground out on a 6-4 fielder's choice. So maybe Sanchez gets out of the inning with a better play there in left field by Brandon Marsh. So, all right, it's a tie ball game now, 1-1. What you going to do, Bats? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Bryson Stott's going to work a leadoff walk. Trey Turner is going to get a single. Bryson Stott's going to go to third on that. He had to read it, unfortunately, didn't come around to score. You got Bryce Harper steps up to the plate. He gets a sac fly RBI to center field. Then JT Realmuto comes up. He gets an RBI single. It goes from a 1-1 game to a 2-1 game to a 3-1 game in favor of the Philadelphia Phillies. So they grab the lead right back for Christopher Sanchez. Then after a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning for Christopher Sanchez, including 2 strikeouts, 1 on the changeup again to Naylor, another on a changeup to Polanco. That one was devastating, by the way. You're talking about a devastating changeup. That's the one where Jorge Polanco, he went down to 1 knee. He proposed Christopher Sanchez. Flailing away at that one. Then you go into the bottom of the 4th inning. It's 2 outs. Bryson Stott's at the plate. I got to say, I was like, I'm feeling a home run. I felt it. I felt a home run here. 1-1 fastball up in the zone. Bryson Stott, I think the majority of his home runs have been down and in fastballs or sliders in the nitro zone, as I'm hearing it a lot more now for hitters. Bryson Stott does not miss this baseball. 393 feet over the right field wall for the 4-1 Phillies lead. You got this. You got Christopher Sanchez in cruise control. You got Joe Duran. You're feeling great about this victory. 5th inning, gives up another leadoff hit, this one to Crawford. He gets out of that one, no problem. He had a 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. He got Rodriguez to ground out on a comebacker. 6th inning, Sanchez starts things off again, this time with a double with Suarez off Monty's angle, one of the great Bader angle plays on the night. Then he gets Naylor striking out on a sinker. Garver, he gets to ground out to third. Polanco, he strikes out on a 1-2 changeup, gets him on the changeup again for his 11th strikeout. So now things get a little crazy. In the 7th inning, Christopher Sanchez is at 86 pitches. meant to double check this before the show, but I want to get it now. What did he finish at? 96 pitches. Okay. Here's where I'm at. You see Orion Kerkering warming up in the bullpen as the bottom of the 6th inning commences. Bottom of the 6th inning ends. Christopher Sanchez is 86 pitches. Here's my school of thought. Christopher Sanchez has thrown a lot of pitches. You're down now, like this season. You're down now to only one Cy Young candidate? Oh, my God. And I don't like Orion Kerkering inheriting runners. I would have been fine at this point with Christopher Sanchez being done. So, at most, maybe you give him one more batter. So, Orion Kerkering's warmed up. He's ready to go, but they bring Sanchez. Rob Thompson has Christopher Sanchez start the inning. I'm not mad. I'm like, okay, he's at 86 pitches. I get it. You want to give him one more batter. So, he faces J.P. Crawford, a guy who's a bit of problem. 2 hits last night, a double also. Hit the ball really well against Sanchez. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're going to let it rip here against J.P. Crawford. So he faces J.P. Crawford. He gets J.P. Crawford swinging on a 2-2 sinker in on the hands. Crawford couldn't hold the swing on it, unfortunately, for him. So he goes down as the 12th strikeout victim of the night. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's it. You're up, over 90 pitches now. I think you're at 92 pitches now, or 91 pitches now. So is this going to be when they get him? They let him face more. He walks more on 5 pitches. Okay. So now he's got a Rosarena coming up. Rosarena has hit the ball well off of Christopher Sanchez. Obviously, he had the double to left field for the only run, the RBI double earlier in the game in the 3rd inning, the misplay there by Brandon Marsh, but still Rosarena hit him pretty well. Also had a fly out to center field, to right field earlier in the game. He had been making some good contact. So Rob Thompson allows him to face more and then takes him out after the 5-pitch walk. He's at 96 pitches now. Here's what I don't like. If you're going to have him out there, give him the one batter, J.P. Crawford, who, again, if you don't have him go out there for the 7th inning at all, then that means he's not facing J.P. Crawford, a guy who's already taken him for some hits on the night and hit the ball well. So don't do that. If you are going to give him the inning, give him the inning. This is, hey, man, you got a 3-run lead. Do your thing. This is your show. Try to get a Rosarena. Try to get out of that inning. It's a weird thing because the argument against Rob Thompson has been he has waited too long to take guys out. I think he could have given Christopher Sanchez a little bit more leeway. If he was going to give him the 7th inning, you give him the 7th inning. If he's going to have a situation where he has like a 14-pitch inning and gets to 100, then fine. If he has a 20-pitch inning, fine. He has gotten himself out of jams throughout the night. Give him that opportunity. And the other thing, and it's not even so much about Christopher Sanchez as it is, Orion Kerkering comes into a game with inherited runners, bad things happen. I would have been fine with two other things. One, Orion Kerkering just starts the 7th inning, and that's that. Because then you have Kerkering in the 7th, Strom in the 8th, or David Robertson, and then you have Joan Duran closing it out. That's what you got. That sounds like a great plan. Do that plan. That's what you got now. Use it. But instead, Orion Kerkering comes in, I think, 2 batters too late. And they obviously start to hit the fan. So I would have been fine with Christopher Sanchez not going back out there for the 7th inning. And I would have been fine with Orion Kerkering just starting out the 7th inning on his own. I also would have been fine with Sanchez getting that one more batter. Gets him over 90 pitches. You could still say he didn't, exhaust him in the game. And then Orion Kerkering comes in with nobody on base, and he's already warmed up. So it's not like he had to warm him up after he struck out Crawford to start the 7th inning. You get Sanchez over 90 pitches. You can still say you're conserving him a little bit with Zach Wheeler no longer being available, obviously. So it's weird for the argument against Rob Thompson recently, well, really this year, to be, why does he leave these guys in too long? What get somebody up in the pen. Last night's a weird example of could have handled that a little bit differently. Now, the other part of this as well is it's not even a talking point if Orion Kerkering comes in and does his job. Yeah, you could argue philosophy all the live long day, but the result would be that, Orion Kerkering came in, he got those 2 outs, no problem. But Orion Kerkering came in, Backus, the home plate umpire, didn't do him any favors. He did a lot of other pitchers favors last night, that's for damn sure, especially in the 8th and 9th innings where things that were not at all strikes were called strikes. Orion Kerkering can't get a ball that's, just dust in the outside corner, yet other guys are getting calls that are a foot outside the zone. David Robertson, for instance, good God. Wide strike zone last night, all of a sudden. But Orion Kerkering can't get anything. Even balls that are on the white line, so to speak, he's not getting those calls. So Orion Kerkering comes in, he walks 2 batters, the first 2 batters he faced. You're like, okay, this isn't good. And then he gives up he allows a comeback or a grounder back to him with the bases loaded. The runner on third is Christopher Sanchez's runner. That's Moore, who Christopher Sanchez walked as the last batter he faced. Orion Kerkering got the easy out at first base to get the second out. That was the right play. He absolutely had a play at home, and going back and watching the replay, it looked like JT Realmuto was up and then did one of these. What the hell, man? Why didn't you come home with that? That's going to be a tough play for any bullpen. If it was Christopher Sanchez, if it was Ranger Suarez, if it was Zach Wheeler, then, yeah, you make that play home and you get the easy force out at home as well. But for Kerkering in particular, right-handed pitcher, fielding up the first base line, he would have had to turn and throw or toss or whatever to home plate to get the force out. That's going to be a little bit more of a difficult play. Is it a play he should make? Absolutely. Is it a tougher play to make? Absolutely. So he took the easy out with a 3-run lead to first base. No problem. 4-2. My bigger problem was Eugenio Suarez's 2-run double down the left field line that tied the game at 4. So Orion Kerkering did get frustrated with the balls and strike calls yesterday. Ultimately, be better. Be better. And then we're not even talking about when Christopher Sanchez is leaving this game, and we're not even talking about maybe the Phillies needing a 2-run home run like they got in that 8th inning from JT Realmuto. I mentioned to you Christopher Sanchez getting out of jams, Christopher Sanchez first pitch strikes and all that stuff. After the game, Rob Thompson said he does not think that he has seen a pitcher go 24 of 25 first pitch strikes. That's pretty damn good. So JT Realmuto steps up in the 4-4 game in the 8th inning. And this is after Bryce Harper led off against Brash with a single. JT steps up, and he blasts a 2-run home run, 431 feet over the left field wall. First pitch sinker, he jumps all over it. Boy, did he guess right. Demolishes this baseball. Phillies go up 6-4. JT Realmuto crosses home plate, and him and Bryce Harper they show off their mad hops. Forearm bump, whatever you want to call it. Like the old Bash Brothers, but in the air. And the Phillies are up 6-4. John Duran comes in the 9th inning, almost killed a guy. Arozarena, good Lord, 102-mile-per-hour fastball, 0-2. Up and in the ear if Arozarena didn't get out of the way. And then as one does, goes low and away with, I think, a knuckle curve, and then gets from the ground up to short for the second out of the inning, and then he sits down Cal Raleigh with a 102-mile-per-hour fastball well outside. Made quick work of Cal Raleigh. Phillies last night, that was just so much fun. So much fun. I mentioned Christopher Sanchez's amazing numbers. JT Realmuto, I didn't realize this. Now, we've talked a lot about how since June 1st, his numbers are just off the chart. As a matter of fact, his numbers since June 1st, coming out of last night's game now, played in 34 games in 346, July 1st. 34 games, 346 batting average, 374 on base percentage. He's got 11 doubles, 4 of his now 9 home runs, I think it is, and 15 RBIs. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. But what's better is that this season, in the 8th inning or later, JT Realmuto has the second best batting average in all of baseball. in the 8th inning or later. 364. That is clutch, man. That is ridiculously clutch in what you're getting from JT Realmuto. I know we say this a lot about Kyle Schwarber, but hey, JT Realmuto, give the man his money. After a terrible start to the season, he has certainly turned things around. Him, Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos went with the 0 for last night, but he had started to hit a little bit as of late in the last couple of games, which is great to see. One guy that I'd like to see start hitting baseballs, because hitting baseballs is a good thing, is that Harrison Bader guy. Look, yes, he's great in the field. He's great in the field. I could use some hits. Could certainly use some hits. But yeah, last night, goodness gracious, JT elevating this squad. Rob Thompson, after the game, talked about the two stars of the game, Christopher Sanchez and, he talked about Christopher Sanchez mainly. Here's Rob Thompson after the game on Christopher Sanchez.
Like a predator with some ice skates running through the grass.
Oh, wait, no, that was Cam Jurgens. All right, here's Rob.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he just knows how to slow the game down now, Just focus on what he needs to focus on, attacking hitters, staying within the plan, staying within himself. He's doing a great job at it.
The context of that was getting out of, after a first, leadoff single, leadoff double, getting out of jams throughout that game. It's like almost like trying to let him do that in the 7th inning yesterday, but whatever. Then JT Realmuto also talked about not only his home run. Yeah, just looking for, I love it when guys are just like, I'm looking for a pitch to hit. All right. So every time, is that what you're doing? I would assume every time, but, JT Realmuto talked about the euphoria of hitting that home run and crossing home plate. And if you haven't seen the replay yet of him crossing home plate and then jumping up with Bryce Harper, it is pretty cool. I mean, it reminds you of a playoff game is what it does. And the Mariners are a playoff team. They're a playoff caliber team. No doubt about that. They certainly have got some good stuff going on over there. And the Phillies have been able to counter it with better stuff, which is how you win ball games. But JT Realmuto and the emotion after that 2-run home run that won the game in the end.
How pumped up were you after that home run? You jumped pretty high to clash elbows with those guys.
Yeah, that one was exciting. Yeah, that's fun. I mean, anytime, that's a really good team over there. So that was a pretty intense game with them coming back, tying the game on us. The emotions were definitely high after that swing.
Sound courtesy of NBC Sports Philadelphia. You love to see these guys having fun. There is something about, I don't know if it's just because I think everyone played baseball at some point or softball growing up, whatever it was, that you can relate to the fun in the sport. It is, when these guys are having a lot of fun, it's contagious. I mean, you have fun watching it, and you could certainly tell that the last couple of months for JT Realmuto have been a lot of fun. One of the technical things that I heard a couple of times from last night, and I've heard this about JT Realmuto in the past, but it's for him, if his leg kick is off, he's off. Like everything for him, it comes down to the timing of that leg kick. And one of the things that I've heard Kevin Long talk about, or people allude to conversations they've had with Kevin Long. Rob Thompson mentioned it last night. One of the things that JT Realmuto has done is shorten that leg kick, so it's not as high, and that has helped his timing over the last couple of months. Well, if that adjustment, if that change for JT Realmuto happened after the first 3 months of the season, including March, well, then you're talking about a 0.77 batting average and 13 at bats in March. April he at 262, then 204 or 205, in May, 293 in June, 354 in July, and so far in the month of August, he's one away from his season high in home runs in the month, which is he's got 2 now. He hit 3 in May. But in the month of August so far, he's hitting 333 with a 390 on base percentage. Yeah, it's pretty good. And for the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 375. Yeah, JT's pretty good. JT's pretty good. Phillies, weather permitting, will go for the series sweep of the Seattle Mariners. 105 today. Jesus Luzardo on the hill tonight. I'm not from Delco, but I can't help but to say Luzardo with that kind of thing going on. So there you go. That's funny. There's one more thing I wanted to give you guys. I can't present that right now. I'll have to get to that a little bit later. Some might say that JT Realmuto for the past couple of months has been
like a predator with some ice skates running through the grass.
I'm not going to stop with it. I think it's hilarious. Hey, speaking of your Philadelphia Eagles, I mentioned earlier Kevin Patullo. He's definitely got the coach speak down. As an associate head coach, you don't have too many press conferences, but now as an offensive coordinator, we're going to be hearing him a lot. And yesterday, he was asked about John Metchie, the Eagles' new wide receiver that they made a trade with the Houston Texans for. And look, he's obviously going to make – you don't just trade for a guy and then just cut him. So they have intentions of keeping him on this roster. So who goes? Is it Johnny Wilson? Is it Darius Cooper? Because you're looking at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, Anaya Smith, and Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper's probably the odd man out of all this. The guy that I'm really rooting for here, and it's really got not much to do with him as a wide receiver as much as it does with him as a returner. Like, when Vic Fangio first talked to us about Cooper DeJean being Bugs Bunny and playing all the positions essentially, other than defensive tackle, although that'd be pretty funny. To me, I think he was making a declaration that this man will be freed from all special teams responsibilities. Seth Joyner, me, Derek Gunn, doing the pre and post last year, we talked all about just get this man out of there. Don't let him do it. He's too important to your defense. Get somebody else that can return punts. Get somebody else that can return kickoffs. Come on. Punts mostly. And then we had to go through the year like that. Now, Britton Covey obviously is no longer here. So who do you got? Is it going to be Cooper DeJean again? Better not be. Anaya Smith has shown promise in the return game. Let him continue to show that promise. If there's little tweaks, like we talked a lot from last year to this year about what this team needs to do, like hey, asks of a team that had a blowout win in the NFC Championship game, a blowout win in the Super Bowl against a dynasty, you know. What are little things that you want this team to do a little bit different this year to try to stay ahead of the game? Maybe make him even better. Oh, yeah, more Cooper DeJean. That'd be great. To have him on the field like all the time, that'd be great. So now they're doing that. When I say all the time, I mean for the defensive plays. I don't mean for special teams. So a tweak I'd like to see from last year to this year, a wrinkle, if you will, is Cooper DeJean is no longer in on punt returns. All right? He's no longer your returner. Have somebody else do that. When Vic Fangio was talking about this all those months ago, I really feel like this was him saying, hey, Howie, we got bigger plans for this guy. Can we be on the same page with this? Not only do I want him to play in the slot, not only do I want him to play nickel, I want him to play in the base in the 4-3 with them on the outside. And it's smattering of him at safety. I don't think we're going to see much of him at safety. Maybe a little bit, a wrinkle here and there. Okay. But I don't think we're going to see much of him in that spot. So Cooper DeJean being off special teams, keeping Anaya Smith would certainly help me feel like the Eagles are not going to have Cooper DeJean touch a punt return this year. The other thing, when you talk about the wide receiver room here is, I'm all about, you got to always have the competition. You have some guys in here that I really feel can do the job. Again, when you look at A.J. Brown, you look at Devontae Smith, you look at Jahan Dotson and Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith, and now you have John Metchie in here. There's going to be one odd man out other than Darius Cooper. who's that other guy going to be? Is Johnny Wilson going to get practice squatted? How does it work out? Because I'd say he's the guy that has the biggest threat. And I know, you need a size. Well, you don't need a size. You need talent. You need to be able to help the football team. Definitely, it looks like Darius Cooper is the odd man out when you talk about this receiving room. Really good preseason game, number 1 for him. But everything else has been a little bit of a struggle. There's going to be an odd man out here. And like I said to start the show, when it comes to the hamstring injury of A.J. Brown, when it comes to the idea that him and Devontae Smith both have missed some time, Jahan Dotson has a full year, season, and training camp now is a good thing. Johnny Wilson obviously having that experience. Nia Smith in the return game. Ooh. Then Metchie and Cooper. How's it all work out? Going to be 2 odd men out, as a matter of fact. So Kevin Patullo talked about that yesterday, just as far as the competition being raised in the room to the surprise of no one. They talked a lot about practice with the Browns and how that didn't go well. They talked a little bit about starting to game plan for the Dallas Cowboys in week 1, a little bit, according to Kevin Patullo. And then just offensive line depth. And this is one of the few questions that I really, or answers that I listened to with Kevin Patullo that I went, yeah, that's the right answer right there. Absolutely. And he was asked about offensive line depth. And Kevin Patullo answered this question like you and I would answer this question, like offensive line depth. We think Jeff Stoutland's a really good offensive line coach, so we have a lot of confidence in the offensive line. It was like, really? We're getting offensive line questions? I understand you got to ask a question about the O-line. How's everything going there? But it's like, you want to ask a question about our depth? Well, he shook hands with Jeff Stoutland, so now he's an all-pro. So we're good when it comes to offensive line depth. The one thing I will say is the reports out of camp yesterday where that Matt Pryor was apparently getting the break speed off him by Jalix Hunt, and Nolan Smith was doing a fine job as well. So this the Eagles pass rush was having themselves a good day at practice yesterday. The quote-unquote training camp sacks were racking up for the edge rushers yesterday, especially on Matt Pryor. So interesting from camp yesterday. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So take care of all they're offering on the Game Time app. And don't forget about Game Time Picks feature. Game Time Picks feature. It's fantastic. Filters out all the fluff, gets right down to it. The best seats, the best prices on the Game Time app. So once again, download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy. You get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. And check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. That's SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you're doing. Rye, what's happening? 6 a.m. Central starts rough. Hey, I moved to Chicago. What do you want from me? Kidding. Pin 9617. Yo. Jerry Von Skyver. Hello. Sean Gillespie. Hello. Kevin. What's up, Kevin? Everyone, happy Wednesday. And it is a Wednesday already. This week's fast. Jerry Von Skyver. But it's only a man on first with 1 out. You're not talking about 2 runners in scoring position. Sanchez was getting hit pretty well by Roserainer and Dumper. He was. Yeah, he was. That's, again, the things I would have been happy with. In the 7th inning, Orion Kirkering just starts out the inning. We're cool, no problem. Or he's at 86 pitches. You give him one more batter. He got one more batter. He struck out that one more batter. He's over 90 now. Then take him out then. Runners in scoring position with me and Orion Kirkering, it doesn't matter. I don't think Orion Kirkering is comfortable inheriting runners, unfortunately. So maybe break him in during the regular season, have him get used to it before he has to do it in the postseason, maybe. But I do agree. Rosarena was hitting him. Dumper was hitting him. I just like guys, just Dumper. But yeah, only a man on first. You either give him the opportunity to be just over 90 pitches and take him out. Again, going into it, I want to limit the amount of bullets that Christopher Sanchez is throwing. I don't want Orion Kerkering inheriting runners. So you have Sanchez through 6 1/3, 1 run, get him out. Or Orion Kerkering comes in the 7th, just pitches. What was one of the games in the was it the first game against the Nationals? This happened recently. It's like, hold on, we have a great plan here. You got a 7th inning guy, an 8th inning guy, and a 9th inning guy. Let's use that. Let's let them get the work in. And you even have Jose Alvarado in the bullpen. Bears fan are hyped up now? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's also a bit of a concern with Christmas. Overall workload this year. I agree with that. He's approaching uncharted territory in innings pitched. Hopefully it doesn't wear down going into this postseason. That is on my mind, Jeremy. Absolutely on my mind. You can never have too much depth at any position in the NFL. I agree. Metchie has a better chance of making this team than Harrison Bryant at tight end. Well, yeah, they just I agree. Absolutely, he does. April. Oh, I missed the big. Welcome to the big show. That was such a great intro. Welcome to the big show. Oh, that was great. Cousin. What's up, cousin? Jerry Von Skyver, simply En Fuego. There's an evolution of that with Dan Patrick. I remember he did an interview years ago where he used to say, JT Real Muto, El Fuego, which actually would make sense today now, considering that's fire is a thing, But a Spanish teacher wrote Dan Patrick, and he says, I don't think you mean to say he's the fire. I think you mean to say he's on fire. So it's not El Fuego. It's En Fuego. And to DP's credit, he made the adjustment. But yeah, that was a great one. En Fuego. Rich Eisen's those who are late do not get fruit cup. Oh, my God. That was one of my favorite all-time ones. Just, it was so out of nowhere. Like, what? A fruit cup? And then now that I'm on this, Kenny Mayne, I am king of the diamond. Let there be a grand clubhouse feast. Oh, God, that was such a great era. Oh, my God, that was so much fun. Hey, when ESPN, for all the kids, Sports Center used to be a lot of fun. And now it's not. April, thank you so much. Flyers update 50 years ago. Thank you, Rye. I'm to tell you, I'm really looking forward to this year. Really looking forward to it. Why was the last strikeout controversial? Just because it's one of those situations where he's trying to avoid getting hit more than anything at the last second. I don't know. I don't know why that's in my head as controversial. I can't answer the question. I apologize. April, I saw someone say we need Alvarado to get Romano's next drug test. Oh, that's phenomenal. Brian Pumper, that Moore walk was BS. That ump was blind. A couple of those pitches were definitely balls. I think, was it the last one that it was on the line? Yeah, it was a 3-1 count. And I think the fourth ball was on the outside corner. And that's so crazy that was called a ball when there's literally pitches that are 6 inches outside that were called strikes later in the game. And the other thing was, what was crazy was Sanchez's second strikeout of the game in the first inning there against Rodriguez. He got him looking at a sinker in well off the plate, and he got rung up. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's a strike today. And then back as to his credit, made the adjustment and wasn't calling that a strike for the majority of the game. And then back in like the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it was going to be 8th and 9th innings, it was a strike again. Jerry Von Skyver, I love how Duran threw 3 straight 102 mile per hour fastballs, just daring Raleigh to hit it. Well, the placement of those fastballs was great too. They're all outside. I know the last 2 were because he kept offering at it. Wow. We can all sleep well knowing Duran has been here a little less than a month. Yeah. And has thrown less than 50 pitches and now has 4 saves. That is amazing. Brian Pumper. Bader is literally Johan Rojas. Well, Johan Rojas would have those brain farts in center field, and I have yet to see any brain farts from Harrison Bader in center field. Sean Gillespie, please get an actual punt returner. I wouldn't mind it. Hardcore Frog, good morning, Mark. Sixers are approaching Flyers territory since any significant wins. Don't forget you're hot today. Keep that dome dry. Don't forget your hat today. Excuse me. Keep the dome dry. I'll be inside mostly. Wait, wonder if Farsi is now on board with AI home base. I have been on board. For years, I have been on board with balls and strikes, or at least the challenge system that we saw in spring training in the All-Star game. I am very much on board with that. I'm a pioneer as far as I'm concerned. I'm the guy that says I am a non-practicing baseball traditionalist. So yes, get that as soon as humanly possible, please. I know it'll be here next year, and I look forward to that. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Once again, weather permitting, 1:05 start time today for your Philadelphia Phillies, going for the sweep of the Seattle Mariners. The Mets did win last night. Phillies stay 5.5 games up on the New York Metropolitans. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hey, when you go out there today, make sure you guys are
like a predator with some ice skates running through the grass.
Yeah, that's right. Have a great rest of the day.